Hey, what's good, people? It's CJ Williams from Culturalist Theory. Today we're taking it to Tennessee to rank the 9 albums by 3 6 Mafia. Note, this list will only involve projects listed as solo albums, so no compilations or subgroups. Shout out to the Headbusters and to the Club of Thugs. This list will include the 2 Choices soundtracks as they are listed as official 3 6 albums. So hit that like button if you're feeling the content and subscribe to see more. With that out the way, let's get to it. Number 9, the Choices 2 soundtrack. The sequel to the straight-to-DVD original Choices also was accompanied by a soundtrack that, while still okay, is easily our least favorite of the catalog. With members Gangsta Boo and Coops the Nickel long gone, 3 6 leaned heavily on the likes of Little White and Frasier Boy. Now, Frasier Boy was nice and Little White was cool, but they're on about 10 or so records, so if you weren't fans of them, you probably didn't care for this album much at all. With that being said, Official Crunk Junk and I Sure Will remix was nice, but the standout record came in the form of an absolute banger with It's Whatever With Us featuring the Youngbloods and Yin Yang Twins. Now that record went hard. Outside of that, it's pretty quiet. Also, this is the last time we heard Lord Infamous on the 3 6 album, as legal troubles would prevent him from being on further projects. Number 8, Last to Walk. And then there were 2. The appropriately titled Last to Walk shows DJ Paul and Juicy J being the last members left on the once deep roster of 3 6 Mafia, since fan favorite Crunchy Black left due to alleged financial mismanagement. Musically though, the album is better than you probably remember. Stepping out from the usual HCP features, you get appearances by UGK, A-Ball MJG, Good Charlotte, Life Jennings, and Akon. The latter appearing on one of the better records, That's Right. There's still the usual suspects, Project Pat and Little White, but it's the production that saves the album. Paul and Juicy didn't lose a step behind the boards as the beats are as strong as ever. Dropping in 2008, it's also the last album from the duo as they would go their separate ways shortly after. The album is worth revisiting, specifically I Told Them and On Some Chrome with UGK. Seriously, run it back. It's slightly better than you thought. Number 7, The Unbreakables. 3 6's 6th album featured Juicy J, DJ Paul, Crunchy Black, and Lord Infamous, and was the first since the departure of Gangsta Boo and Coops the Nickel. The foursome didn't miss a beat on this album as it's full of heat and there was no love lost with the departed artist. Multiple shots are taken at former members on joints like They About to Find Your Body, Let's Start a Riot, and one of the best Posse songs, Dangerous Posse. But the sleeper track came on Money Didn't Change Me, where the group speaks to those who switched up on them when they got paper. It doesn't happen very often, but 3 6 had the ability to take you out of the club effectively when they wanted to. Testing My Gangster and Riding Spinners went hard as well. Despite being a few members down, thankfully that didn't slow up the 666 train. Number 6, Most Known Unknown. 15 years deep in the game, 3 6 had amassed a very successful career, going from the depths of Memphis Underground to MTV, but didn't feel they got the respect they deserved. Thus, the title of their 8th album, Most Known Unknown. Well, if you didn't know before this album, you certainly knew after. Some of their most popular records came from this project. Stay Fly, Poppin' My Collar, and Side to Side were staples on 106 and Park. This album isn't all about the radio records though, as joints like Don't Violate, Hard Hitters, and P Get You Hooked featuring a young Remy Ma were all dope. Their stardom would grow even more as just a year after this album, they will become the first rap group to win an Oscar for their work on the Hustle and Flow soundtrack. Number 5, Choices soundtrack. Now this is how you do a soundtrack. Again, this is counted as a 3 6 album, and the gang's all here, including label mates Project Pat, LaChat, and the criminally slept on T-Rock. Singles Two-Way Freak and Baby Mama were popular. Speaking of LaChat, she and Gangsta Boo put beef rumors to rest on the Posse cut Mafia, one of the stronger of the Posse series. Other bangers include the Lord Infamous solo, OV, We Shootin' First, and the Ludacris feature, This Bitch That Hoe. The soundtrack is fire. Take away the skits, and 2 or 3 of those skips, it might have been top 3. Before we get to the top half of our list, do me a favor, leave a comment with your favorite non-3 6 album. Is it one of Project Pat joints? Maybe Gangsta Boo? Or one of the subgroups? Let me know. Okay, back to the list. Number 4, Chapter 1, The End. The follow-up to the underground acclaimed Mystic Styles was Chapter 1, The End. Everything leveled up, especially the production with familiar samples, and the dark themes continued throughout. The last 3 6 album under Prophet Entertainment, the sophomore album was strong with joints like I Ain't Going, the first Body Parts, and the masterpiece Sampling Where the Killers Hang, as well as the fan favorite Where's the Bud. But the standout record would be the classic Late Night Tip, sampling Lisa Fischer's How Can I Ease the Pain to perfection. The record would also appear on their third album, Chapter 2, World Domination. Smart move, as that album would gain more national attention, shedding more light on the classic record. Speaking of Chapter 2, number 3, Chapter 2, World Domination. The first album under Hypnotized Minds would be the last of the truly dark albums, as Chapter 2 would officially put 3 6 on the hip-hop map. The first project to go gold for the Mafia would be a missile, as crunk club bangers are littered throughout. Hit a Motherfucker and Tear the Club Up were known to end club nights early, and What You Do and Neighborhood Ho were also a few of the B-side joints that were popular. Salute to Lord Infamous again for having a dope solo record, as his Ice-T flip 3 6 in the morning was flames. As mentioned earlier, Late Night Tip was wisely added, as well as an updated version of Tear the Club Up, originally heard on their debut album. Chapter 2, World Domination, was an aptly titled project that took 666 from underground underdogs to household names. Number 2, Mystic Styles. Spring 1995, 3 6 Mafia dropped their groundbreaking debut album, Mystic Styles, a project which would open doors for crunk and trap artists for decades to come. Described as horrorcore, many didn't know how to take the sinister production and themes, as people believed that they were devil worshippers at the time. Joints like Break the Law 95, Mystic Styles, and Gotta Touch 'Em Part 2 went hard. Shout out to a young LaChat on the title track Mystic Styles. That's for those who thought her debut appearance was on the Hypnotized Camp Posse album. Their first radio record also came off this project, called The Summer, which was a smooth flip on Rick James's Hollywood. The album is also notable for having the Bone Thugs diss record, Live By Your Rep. 3 6 heard Bone rapping sped up triplet flows over dark production and thought maybe they had bit them. They would later get cool, feature on each other's records, and even hold a versus battle, which we all saw how it turned out.
Suck my dick. Me. Like, what the fuck? You're a hater. Busy ball, you're a hater. You must have take your pills. You weirdo ass nigga. Fuck wrong with you?
Maybe it wasn't all good like we thought it was. Either way, the album is an essential Southern classic, featuring production and flows that are mimicked almost 30 years later. Number 1, When the Smoke Clears, 66, 61. Mystic Styles may be the album 3 6 fans consider the classic, but When the Smoke Clears is their best full body of work. The last album with the original roster was peak Mafia. You could damn near play the album in the club from intro to outro. Whether it's the call and response type joints like Weak Ass Bitch, recitable bangers like I'm So High and Just Like Us, or records with multiple features like Touch With It featuring No Limit Soldiers, Fiend and Mr. Servon, or the posse cut Memphis featuring a pre-G-Unit Young Buck. The production is the star of the show, as the beats are superb thanks to DJ Paul and Juicy J's hypnotizing backdrops. I mean, come on, the MacGyver sample on Put Your Signs Up is super tough. That's not to say lyrically that they're slipping, as DJ Paul and Gangsta Boo specifically snap on many of their verses, including the single Who Run It, a record that the world would be reintroduced to thanks to a freestyle by Chicago rapper G Herbo. Speaking of singles, we can't leave this review without speaking on Sippin' on Scissor, an ahead of its time record featuring UGK that propelled the album past platinum status. Lastly, can we give Crunchy Black his flowers? One of the best, worst rappers of all time, and we mean that with all due respect. He has multiple memorable verses on this album, and his solo record, Where the Cheese At? Mystic Styles would introduce the Mafia properly and would be groundbreaking for sure. But When the Smoke Clears is 3 6 at its apex, and hands down is their best quality record out of their catalog. That's it for this list. Did we get it right? Drop your theory below and hit the like and subscribe button while you're at it. Until the next time, I'm CJ Williams for Culturalist Theory. I'm out.